Okay, hi everyone, welcome back to this video series on Cisco ASA firewall. Traffic through filtering via ADSM. Now that you understand how ACLs are deployed in a security appliance via the CLI, setting it up via ADSM is even simpler. Simply log into ASDM and define an ACL and its associated ACEs by navigating to Configuration, Firewall Access Rules, selecting the pull-down Add List and clicking Add Access Rule. ASDM opens up a new window where you can specify the following attributes. Interface. Select the name of the interface where you want to apply the access control list. In a security appliance, traffic must be allowed from a low security level interface to a high security level interface, and you can optionally filter traffic from high security level interface to a low security level interface. Action. Select the action either permit or deny for the traffic matching this ACE. If you select permit, traffic is allowed to enter or exit an interface. If you choose deny, traffic is dropped by the security appliance. Source. Specify the source host, IP, network, or object group. The source information is an entity that originates traffic. From example, if a web client sends traffic to a web browser, specify the IP address of the client as the source address. Destination. Specify the destination host, IP, network, or object group. The destination information is any entity that receives traffic. For example, if a web client sends traffic to a web server, specify the IP address of the server as the destination address. Service. Specify the destination service name such as TCP, UDP, SMTP, HTTP. For example, if a web client sends traffic to a web server, specify HTTP as the service. If you want all IP traffic to pass from specific source and destination address, specify IP as the service name. It can also be a protocol number such as 407 for GRE or 112 for VRRP. Description. Specify a description applied as a remark statement for this access control entry. This optional argument is useful for auditing the reference purposes. You can specify up to 100 characters as the description for an access rule. Enable logging. Specify whether you want the security appliance to generate a syslog message 106100 if a packet matches the ACE. If you do not have this option enabled, ASA generates a syslog message 106023 for packets that are denied by the firewall. If this option is enabled, you can specify a logging level 0 through 7, where logging level 6 is the default. By default, permitted packets are not logged, and if the logging argument is added, the security appliance generates a syslog only at the configured logging interval, time, and rate. The following options are located under the More Options pull-down. Enable rule. Select this option if you want to access the rule to be operational. This is the default behavior. If you do not check this box, the access rule is inactive and does not process any traffic. Traffic direction. Specify you want the firewall to apply the ACE in the inbound or outbound direction on the selected interface. When you define a new access rule, the default behavior is to inspect traffic in the inbound direction. If you would rather analyze traffic when it leaves a firewall interface, select out as traffic direction, source service. Specify the source service name as TCP, UDP, SMTP, or HTTP. If this option is not specified, then by default, all source ports are allowed. Logging interval. Specify the full time interval in seconds after which the subsequent syslog messages are generated. The default time interval is 300 seconds. This option is grayed out until you select a logging level other than the default time range. Specify a time range name for this ACE. Time-based ACLs are discussed later in this chapter. To the box filtering. To the box traffic filtering, also known as management access rule, applies to traffic that terminates on the security appliances. This feature was introduced in version 8.0 of the code to filter traffic destined to the control plane of the security appliance. Some management specific protocols such as SSH and Telnet have their own control list where you can specify what hosts and networks are allowed to connect to the security appliance. However, they do not provide full protection from other types of traffic such as IPsec. Before you implement management access rules, consult these guidelines. Traffic filtering requires you to configure an ACL and then apply the ACL to the appropriate interface using the control plane keyboard at the end. The ACL cannot be applied to an interface designated as a management-only interface. Management-specific protocols provide their own control plane protection and have higher precedence than to the box filtering ACL. For example, if you allow a host to establish an SSH session by defining its IP address in the SSH command and then block its IP address in the management access rule, the host can establish an SSH session to the security appliance. If you want to use the CLI to define a policy, use the control plane keyboard at the end of the access group command. This declares that this is a management access rule to block traffic destined to the security appliance. In example 4.3, a control plane ACL called outside access in 1 is configured to block all IP traffic destined to the security appliance. This ACL is then applied to the outside interface in the inbound direction using the control plane keyword command. Want to set up an identical to the box traffic ACL through ASDM, navigate to configuration, device management, management access rules, click the pull down add list and then select add management access rule. ASDM opens a new window where you can specify the following attributes. Interface. Select the interface where you want to allow or block the to the box traffic. You cannot select an interface already designated as the management only interface. Action. Select the action either permit or deny for the traffic matching this rule. Source. Specify the source host IP, network or object group. This source is any entity that originates traffic destined to the interface of the security appliance. Service. Specify the destination service name such as TCP, UDP, SMTP, or HTTP that you want to allow or deny. Description. Specify a description of up to 1,000 characters that are useful for auditing and reference purposes. Enable logging. Enable this option if you want the security appliance to generate a syslog message 106100 if a packet matches the control plane ACE. You can include the appropriate logging level discussed later in this chapter. Enable rule. Select this option to make this ACE operational. Source service. You can be more specific in defining an ACE by specifying the source service name, either TCP or UDP, logging interval. Specify the time interval to generate the subsequent new syslog message in seconds. Time range. Specify a time range name for this ACE. Time-based ACLs, as shown in figure 4.5. A management access rule is defined to block all IP traffic that originates from the outside interface and is destined to the security appliance. A description of block all management traffic on outside interface is added as a best practice, as you can see here. Setting up an IPv6 ACL optional. If you use IPv6 traffic in your network, you can optionally configure IPv6 ACL to control the traffic passing through the security appliance. As discussed previously in the types of ACL section, the security appliance supports filtering IPv6 traffic that is passing through interfaces. You can define an IPv6 ACL by using the IPv6 access list command, followed by the name of the ACL, like an extended ACL. The IPv6 ACL uses similar command options as shown in the following syntax, as you can see here. Table 4.4 defines the unique arguments of an IPv6 ACE that are different from the ones listed in Table 4.2. In example 4.4, an ACL called inbound IPv6 traffic on outside consists of two ACEs. The first ACE denies traffic from an IPv6 source. So this is the IP address BA98:32:FEDC:BA98:1:3210 if it is destined for a mail server TCP port 25 and located at 1080:800:200C:417A. The second ACE permits all mail traffic from the Fed BA91:1:3210:/64 network if it is destined to 1080:8:200C:417A. The ACL is applied to the outside interface in the inbound direction. So you can see here an example 4.4, configuring applying an IPv6 ACL on the outside interface. So I'm going to leave it here today for this video. If you like listening, please consider like, sharing and subscribing. Thank you.